The Obamas, they were back and better than ever. And they took turns roasting Donald Trump at the DNC on night 2. Barack closed the show roasting Trump during his speech, and it was, well, Obama-esque.
From a guy whose act has, let's face it, gotten pretty stale. We do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse. Proud of the enormous progress that we've made through the Affordable Care Act, providing millions of people access to affordable coverage, protecting millions more from unscrupulous insurance practices. I noticed, by the way, that since it's become popular, they don't call it Obamacare no more. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala. There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
We caught that. You saw it too. And it's true. It's probably true. Okay. I listened to Stormy Daniels' testimony about him, and you can't hear that.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
When Obama was roasting former president, my forever president, 44, was roasting Donald Trump and that little voice crack that he does to kind of drive home the point. I'm so curious, Tehran, what you're going to say about it. But I want to hold that for a moment because it was so good, okay? And even a little petty, appropriately petty. It's like the movie Friday. I had this vision where Trump loses in November and then both Obamas stand over him like, they did with Debo. You got knocked. You know what I mean? I think we deserve that, okay? But Michelle Obama, forever First Lady, she's not going to stoop that low. And she still's a little bit, she's ticked off, okay? And she laid it on the line like a real one does. Listen.
She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth. If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. No. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
I'll tell him, okay? I think he should know. Call him, okay? I think you should know. Of the speeches, John Ferris of Political wrote this: the Obamas made clear Trump himself is a whining, insecure loudmouth whose act has grown stale. Both speeches were replete with lines trying to make Democratic nominee Kamala Harris's opponent seem pathetically small. Yeah. Both speeches, while filled with stinging one-liners that thrilled partisans inside the United Center, seemed plainly written with a particular strategic theory in mind about the reasons Trump has vexed Democrats and about how to disempower him. It's as if Tehran, what's the movie, The Wizard of Oz, and then the curtain, and they pull it back, and you ain't nothing, okay? This is what we were all so excited about or fearing. What do you make, before we move on to the rest of the Obama's delivery, the content, the cadence, their love affair on display?
I think that we should have had the Obamas at the Tom Brady roast, because I haven't seen so many zingers since then. Jeff Ross basically hosted this. Number 44 came out strong and did it in the Obama-esque way, where it was still classy. I've never heard someone call someone a bluster, bumbling, chaotic idiot more classy than President Obama. And then, of course, Michelle Obama, the Maya Angelou of speakers, came out, and I wanted to snap the whole time. This is no longer about politics, because the truth is, left wing, right wing, same bird. We're all in this together. The idea was to express and communicate the disaster that President Trump could be, is going to be possibly, and the fact that we have someone like a Kamala Harris who, despite even me feeling a little apprehensive about Kamala because of the last 4 years, I will say at least this person's qualified. And that was a reminder from the Obamas as well, is that the president possibly can be one of those black jobs that we're all seeking to find out which was such.
I hope somebody trademarked it too, black jobs. He said it with his ignorant self, but trademark it, put it on a t-shirt, and you're right, okay? We saw one of the most qualified, and she was the first lady, okay, coming along, boosting her man. We heard Hillary Clinton say on day one that Kamala is perhaps the most qualified ever to get the nomination. So that means including her. But yeah, I think they did it just right and ran a masterclass, a clinic, if you will, on how to do that when you're opposite a buffoon. I don't want to name call, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, Meghan McCain, who sometimes gets on a lot of our nerves, couldn't help but praise the DNC roll call, posting, "I'm sorry, but this DNC 2024 roll call, DJ Cassidy themed state music and party club atmosphere, is blowing the RNC's roll call out of the water. It looks like a giant party and celebration, and everyone in that room looks like they're having a blast." Indeed, they were. Indeed, they were. Real quick, give me your thoughts on DJ Cassidy. I rather like that. I found myself kind of dancing, and I don't really dance, but I was, sitting in bed watching this. I can't dance. My daughter tells me don't do it. And I'm like, this is good. First I said, who's the guy in the funny suit dating myself? But it's so skinny. Is that really in these suits? But I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
We were definitely raising the roof the whole time. There was an energy, this eclectic fire that we haven't had since Yes We Can, that came back into the room. We'd all been wondering where the Obamas have been. And I can understand why the Obamas wanted to take a step out after the 8 years they had and what they were able to accomplish. And yet the firehouse and the firestorm that came afterwards. So if I was President Obama, I wouldn't pick up any calls. I might have blocked a lot of people from like, hey, where are you? Where are you, Brock? I'm not even here. Remember when you needed my birth certificate? I'm not even here. But the Obamas came out, that energy was palpable. And just for Meghan McCain, the Kim Kardashian of the Republican Party, to even side with what was going on. This is a person who's ruffled a lot of feathers, and her father ran against President Obama. And yet, if you go to Sharon Reed Live, the Instagram account, which I reposted because you had one of the best clips of the 2012 versus 2024 debate, in which you saw the respect that the candidates kept for one another, when there was a respectability about
think it was 50
politics
years ago.
and American politics. Exactly. And yet the name calling and the animosity that happened in 2024, what worlds apart. You think the rest of the world is watching us and just going,
a joke. Yes, you. Okay. And you're right, because we wouldn't find some of that behavior. And it was both of them talking about the golf. What were they saying? My handicap. And can you do it? Can we walk it? Can we walk it? Can we walk? will you really do that? I mean, the whole thing was crazy. And I think your point is valid because we had forgotten just how crazy this world had become. I mean, crazy. We get it, but this was crazy. You understand? Okay, this was off the charts. Let's have more on the roll call. It included moments like the DJ playing Kendrick Lamar's song, Not Like Us. They not like us. I hope we don't get charged for that. Will we get charged for that if I don't sing it anymore? Okay. This was during California's roll call. Remember, they said we'll delay, come back to us at the end. That's tradition. But this was a new world order, baby. This was a new way of doing things. Who's up next? How are you going to top this? Or when rapper Little John, okay, I'm here in Atlanta. Nobody screams like him, okay, appeared during the Georgia roll call, rapping Get Low, changing lyrics of To the Windows, to the Walls, get it, to VP Harris, Governor Wolf, acknowledging a popular online meme. I mean, it was picture perfect. It made us happy. Can we just be happy after all of what's going on for the better part of a decade? I think it's lost on people that we just want to breathe and be happy and be amongst a friendlier atmosphere, even if it's not perfect. Let's talk about the ratings for the DNC so far. First night of the Democratic National Convention averaged 20 million viewers across 13 networks. That surpassed the audience for the initial day of the Republican National Convention, according to Nielsen. First night of the RNC drew an estimated 18.13 million in the 10 p.m. Eastern hour across 12 networks. So 20 million, 18.13. That's from Deadline. Trump's not going to like that. And I think they pointed out gleefully and with precision, and Obama likes Kendrick Lamar anyway. And some of his speech with the cadence, it felt like he could be right there with him in the studio. It felt like they pointed out just how petty and ridiculous. It gave us a new world view. Like, look outside the window. There's a big world out there. You've been living in chaos. Your overall reaction to this, what I think was an incredible night.
Drake lost. That was when they start using "not like us" at Democratic National Conventions. Just Drake. I'm just happy you're Canadian and not American, because right now it's USA coming off the Olympics. But Drake lost, and when we start turn down for what and to the windows, to the walls, even though it is kind of fun that the next line is when the sweat drips down my Tim Waltz. That is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun that's what's happening. But that goes back to what Meghan McCain said is the fun, and what you said, Sharon Reed, about it being a time to breathe. There was a sense of calmness during the Obama era that hadn't happened since basically the Clinton era. And once again, it's not about red or blue. This is about what America is supposed to be and what it represents in the world. I understand that number 45 was a reality TV star, but just because you're a reality TV star, it has no place in American politics. It is, and it should not be reality TV. I do want to say that for people who are obsessed with crowd size, people with big crowd sizes, they have very small chances of winning.
I see you.
All chances of winning. So be mindful, though, when we're looking at these ratings, let's be mindful. Just because we have big ratings doesn't always mean big wins. So just because 20 million, 2 million plus more people watch the DNC versus the RNC, that doesn't always translate into voters. And also, let's look at where it was. Was it all in New York and Los Angeles? Because if it's only in the coast, that's why there's an electoral college system to break those things up. It's good for the goose is often what's good for the gander.
I think you're reminding us to hold your fire. We still got, what is it, 73 days? I don't know how many days it is, but it's not long. And you gotta climax. You gotta get over the hump, okay? And it's one thing to have a big block party, but what about turning enthusiasm into early voting and showing up at the polls? I don't hear about it raining. I'm in Atlanta. There's lace fronts everywhere. They might get wet that day, okay? But you got to get out there and vote. I wonder what you make of this unity. It felt real. It was palpable, right, Tehran? But it was only weeks ago, okay, that there was infighting and just all kinds of just vitriol inside the Democratic Party. They couldn't agree on anything. And now you have progressives. Everybody seems to be, I don't want to say falling in line because it sounds like it's not authentic, but I wonder what you make of it. And if you're also apprehensive that, is this going to last? Can it last to the election? Will it last after if Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are fortunate enough to get over the hump?
Well, I already expressed that I was apprehensive about Kamala Harris, something that a lot of people are afraid to admit, but it's a bit true. And yet this turnaround led credibility to her leadership expertise, to someone who a lot of the other Democratic National Convention members were apprehensive about, was able to bring people together and create that unity through communication. Because what else is communication but community and communication combined? And that's what it's really about. Creating that energy, bringing that fire back. And unlike 2020, which was, I'm either voting for Trump or against Trump, not to knock President Biden, but that was the sentiment. And this one, people are turning around. Maybe I am voting for Kamala Harris and not simply against the President Trump presidential candidacy. And that is going to be the major difference in this outcome.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's something about her, and it's about the way she takes it to him and the way she dismisses him with that laugh. There's people who say they're unbothered. And I'm sure, listen, this is a tense race, it's a close race, but she is unbothered. She thinks that he's a fool and she's handled worse, much worse than him. That's the sense I get. And it's relatable, it's enjoyable for people. They're welcoming it. That's my take, but we'll see.